Feel free to raise a hand or ask questions throughout this. I'm more than happy to make it interactive rather than me just talking at you. But yeah, the session today, permanent versus contract versus freelance, which Franco kindly invited Keith and I to deliver with him at Scottish Summit. So yeah, it went down quite well. We had a fun room. Hopefully we'll have the same again today. So I'm Sarah Jones. For those that don't know me, I'm a principal recruiter for MS Talent as of this week. My main specialisms are Power Platform and Biz Apps. Somehow I do quite a lot of data engineering roles as well. I suppose with AI, that space is getting busier now. I've been in the tech space for about 7 years and had a previous life in other areas of recruitment as well. So probably 4 of that has been more Biz Apps and Power Platform. I am host and co-founder of the Power Platform Community High Five user group, which I'm really excited about, and also host and co-founder of the Christmas Cracker Collab, which I know a lot of people came to. You'll be seeing some more of that through 2025 as well. So my agenda today is all about your next move, and so how to find a good recruiter, how to make your CV stand out, make your LinkedIn count as well, just boosting your personal brand, and there will be Q&A. Keith and I said we'd do a Q&A together at the end, but like I say, I'm happy for you to ask as we go along. So finding a good recruiter, you probably all get messages into your inbox. And I think what kind of triggered this part of the session was Keith and I both got a message in our LinkedIn inboxes offering us an outside IR35 Power Platform developer contractor role. Obviously, we've got very different careers, and it just sort of triggered, you know, part of me that thought this shouldn't be a reactive thing when you're looking to move jobs. It should be proactive. And so it makes sense to have a recruiter that you trust kind of working for you. So yeah, kind of try and stay out of your DMs. There'll be circumstances where, you know, you may be made redundant or need to kind of find a job quickly, and fair enough, you know, of course you're going to go through those messages. But if you're taking a proactive approach to your next move, find a recruiter and find somebody that you trust. Not necessarily me, but somebody you might have worked with before, or that you know is known to you by a referral or the company that you work for. I'd always recommend an industry expert, whatever it is that you do for a role. Someone that knows the trends in your industry, knows the companies in the industry as well. They're not all good. There'll be interesting things going on, and a good recruiter should really know their market and help guide you. Honest is important. You don't want someone who's just going to tell you what you want to hear, that your salary expectations are right, that your CV looks great, if there's work that you can do. I had a call with a hiring manager yesterday who's getting CVs with 1 page and not enough information on it. Recruiters are sending that sort of stuff out without advising their candidates. So you need someone who's going to be brutal, maybe, but definitely honest. And knows you as well. It's really important that that person knows you and what motivates you. And we all have different lifestyles and different motivations. So it could be your, you know, your family circumstances. You might be looking to move to a different technology. There could be some change in structure and strategy, and tech strategy. You know, any of those motivations. You know, a recruiter should really know that before they move you jobs. And this all takes time. As well, so someone that's going to give you that time to get to know you. I am not pitching myself here. There are other really good recruiters in this industry, so this isn't about me whatsoever. You know, as I said earlier, go to somebody that you trust, that you've worked with before, or that a friend will recommend. So just to go through some basics on the CV now, and it seems basic to me. And when I started putting this slide together, I thought, what's the most common advice that I give to people when I see a CV come across my desk? What conversation do I have? And this is with senior candidates as well. This isn't just, you know, anybody. These are hiring managers that I have to kind of go through this advice with. So it's quite common. And I think what you have to bear in mind is when you apply for a job, your CV will go into either a recruiter like me through an agency or into a talent acquisition team. Oh, I can just hear myself. Okay. And so that might mean that it's going to a generalist recruiter and not necessarily somebody that knows everything about the sector that they're kind of looking for. It might be someone that hires in the customer service team as well as the tech team. So make it easy for them is my point. So your skills and certificates should be quite clear. I would recommend somewhere near the top, like a list of your skill set, so that if it's somebody that is kind of ticking boxes, that they can see that information quite clearly. So yeah, making it easy. And then once that's kind of clear, sorry, Keith, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, not to cut over that, but yeah, thanks, Sarah. Just a quick one, really good question there in the Q&A from James Friel saying, are CVs still a thing, or are the HR platforms just using AI to run your LinkedIn profile through and use an algorithm?
Yeah, they are. They definitely are. People want to see a CV. The searches that people do, so people will headhunt by searching on keywords that are in your LinkedIn profile or job boards, and yeah, you'll get that through. And I'll come on to that as well about making your LinkedIn count, because you will get that AI search and manual searches going as well. It's not just AI, but this is kind of a recruiter point of view. So even if you've got a kind of recruiter that's using those tools to get that candidate profile, your hiring manager, I don't know anyone that's not looking for CVs at the moment. So you'd still need to have that document. I hope that answers the question.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, okay, so it's important to explain then how you've applied those skills and what projects and achievements you've made. I know there's a lot under NDA. What probably isn't under NDA is the sector that you've worked in, the sort of budget that you're working on, the number of users that the project is aimed at, what technologies you use to deliver. Was that in Dynamics, CRM, or was it Canvas apps? What technologies have you used? How did you use them? And a bit of a story around what your personal responsibility was within the team that you were in. So kind of less important, the profile, goals and ambitions, but I'd say that you kind of want to start giving a bit of personality now. So if you've got relevant projects, relevant skills, what do you want then? So make that clear. It's there for a reason. People want to know a little bit more about you and your personality. If you're community focused and you contribute, then get that on there. Absolutely. It's okay if not. There's not many people out there looking for candidates that are really good at contributing to the community, but not bothered about the rest of it. But if you've got it, nice to have for some. And then again, interests, last thing on the page for a reason, but I've known this to really come in handy at interview for building rapport. You might have a shared interest, shared football team, or whatever that might trigger a bit of a conversation. It might just make your life a little bit easier, a little bit friendlier at interview stage. So I'd always recommend to put some interests at the bottom. And this just for me, and this is only kind of my, this isn't any sort of training course, this is just my experiences. That then gives you a good story about the person. Once you get to the bottom of that document, you sort of feel like you know a little bit about them by now. You know what they like, you know what they're after, and you know what skills they've got. So you've got a good picture of the candidate. So coming on to LinkedIn, people check now. If anyone hasn't got a LinkedIn account, I find that quite strange, and especially in this BizApps Power Platform type space. There's a lot of content out on LinkedIn, but any employer that I know, if there's no LinkedIn profile, I'd want to know why. There is like fake profiles out there as well, more and more fake candidates. So any red flags you want to minimize. So have your LinkedIn out there. Make sure it mirrors your CV as well. So that will be the dates that you've worked somewhere, the employer name, your job titles. And again, don't leave anything that doesn't match your CV. I think there's even a button on LinkedIn that you can click that will generate a CV for you if you wanted to do that. But yeah, just make sure it matches. Right. Someone speak then, sorry, is there a question? Yeah, bio again, same as your profile, but anyone can see your LinkedIn. You have to choose to share your CV with people unless you put it on job boards. I suppose that's choosing, but you know, your LinkedIn, anyone can have a look at it. So just make sure it's fair, reasonable account of yourself. And I'm terrible at this. I have no idea what skills are on my LinkedIn, but especially in technical roles, make sure your skills are up to date. As we mentioned earlier, searches will go against the skills that you've got on your profile. So make sure they're relevant and up to date. You don't want to miss out on anything by not having them on there. If you're posting content, I would just keep the quality high rather than posting every day. I had this question from Sean Astrakhan recently. You know, should we be posting every day? And no, not really, in my opinion. But if you've got something, an article to share, a blog to write, a YouTube video, just make sure it's quality rather than just spammy, want of a better word. But yeah, keep the quality high. So on personal brands, community is not for everyone either. Speaking, blogging is great if you enjoy it. Some of the best people I've placed don't, you won't know them. They're in Microsoft partners, chugging away, loving the tech, not blogging. But if it is your thing, then you know, make sure people can see it, and yeah, get on your CV as well. If there's a company you're interested in, I'd always recommend engaging with their posts as well. You can press the follow button on the company page. You can follow the CTO, the tech leads, people that you're interested in, and kind of see what they're talking about, what's relevant to that company. And then, you know, engage and then give feedback on it as well. Obviously, be kind with that feedback. There's no need to not be. But, you know, if you like something, explain why you like it, you know. And I don't know any speakers that have been on any of the events that I've hosted that haven't wanted feedback or been grateful for any kind of feedback, no matter how experienced they are. So I'd definitely send a message, and you'll be amazed how quickly you can make friends in this space if you don't already do that. So there's a QR code there that'll take you to my LinkedIn page. Happy to have one-to-one chats if anyone's looking to start to look at their next move and wants a little bit of advice on their CV or their profile. But for now, if there's any questions, happy to answer.
Thanks, Sarah. That's pretty much bang on halfway through the session. I don't know how you've done it, but you've done it.
Hello. Yes.
There are a couple of good questions in the chat so far, so I could go through those, but if anyone's got any afterwards, just feel free to use the raise the hand in Teams. So yeah, the first question I can see from Oystein, apologies if I've pronounced that wrong, is what kind of keywords are useful at the moment? I think that was on the LinkedIn profile.
As in, so kind of the technologies, I suppose. Yeah, so what I would search for is the technologies. I'd probably start with a job title, but everyone's job titles are different. So you might be a Power Platform developer, you might be a Power Platform consultant. That could mean the same thing. You might be a senior functional consultant that's doing some architecture and then be okay for an architect role. So I'd recommend making sure if you're doing architecture, have architecture in your profile. If it's development, have that. If you're working on model-driven Canvas apps using Dataverse, just make sure all of those keywords are in there if you're working with it. If you're not, I would probably avoid putting it in because you're going to get approached about the stuff.
Sorry to bother you. This thing you just sent me, that is for our Azure.
I don't think that's rules.
Oh, sorry, not sure what happened just there. But thanks, Sarah. That makes sense. It's almost like, you know, use the keywords you want to be found for. Sounds like an SEO approach.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Rather than having, yeah, I mean, it makes more sense. And what I would do, so if I was going to put a big search out there, and then I'd kind of hone it in to kind of narrow that search down. So I might put Power Platform in and get 2,000 candidates. So then it's okay, I want Power Platform with model-driven apps and Dynamics 365, and I would sort of narrow that search down. So just make sure that you've got everything on there.
Perfect, thank you. Right, there's one more in the chat, and then I'll go to some of the hands up. So the next one, Mark Rahn was asking, should the CV be customized for the position you're applying for, and should you have a generic CV as well?
Yeah, I think you should have a generic CV. I think you should always read the job description. before you send your CV off for a role, because there might be something in there. And do you know what? This comes back to like years and years ago, right? So I was working on an embedded software engineer role, and there was this microchip controller. I don't know who was at AJ Zafar's session in London at the UG a few weeks ago. Yeah, Frank, are you there? And he was using a it's called ESP32 microcontroller, right? And I'll never forget that, because it was in this job description. The client went, "Oh yeah, that's what we use." And I went, "I've heard of that before," but I'd kind of matched this candidate by accident by having that little bit of tech in that I hadn't heard of. So yeah, it's worth reading the job description, because you might just miss something little like that that actually really stands out. So I would, but then yeah, for having your CV visible on job boards, I'd have something more generic.
Okay,
Makes
that's
perfect sense. Lovely, thanks, Sarah. Great. We've got a hand up from someone, Will Rowe.
I'm
Yeah,
not
please.
answering any questions from Will. I'm sorry. You've had me acting all week.
Actually, Sarah, it wasn't a question. I just wanted to add a slightly different take, looking at it from a keyword repetition perspective, which also ties back into the AI bit. If you go for keyword repetition of whatever technical skills it is that you have that you want to be found for, it'll mean that you rank higher on the search engine of whatever job board your CV is, of LinkedIn, and you'll be sort of page one of that. I've been getting feedback from a lot of people around the fact that they're saying that their CVs they're not even getting a call back when they're applying to bigger organizations that have perhaps some sort of AI technology in place. So actually that keyword repetition is going to get you that greater chance of a call back as well when you're applying to roles with larger organizations. I totally agree with everything Sarah said around sort of recruiters, but that sort of automation, I think we're going to start seeing much more automation over the next couple of years of organizations putting in place AI type tools, and frequently the hirers won't actually even see the ones that are rejected. So keyword repetition, making sure that you're matching what the job spec is saying on your CV is often a good thing to do. And you can actually use something like ChatGPT to customize your CV to that, but just be aware that the ChatGPT lies all the time and hallucinates. So just make sure that whatever's in there will actually reflect what you've been doing as opposed to anything else. And that's it. I'm out and I'm done. So I just don't want to.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, thank you. It's a really good point, and I think that kind of ties in nicely with Nathan's question in the chat as well about the value of working with a recruiter. We're not using AI. I won't use AI to just go through CVs like that. I don't really believe in it. And so, yeah, if you've got somebody working on your behalf, you're not going to be up against these big, huge companies using AI to screen CVs rather than a human.